Hi everyone, and welcome to week 11 of the course. We're getting really close to the end now, and so we need to shift focus from the ARP to the symposium. So in the overview for this week, I'd like to talk a little bit about the symposium, what it is, what you need to do for it, and so on. So let's start with some basics about what the symposium is. So the symposium is basically a digital multimedia presentation. And it's meant to give you a chance to accomplish a number of things. First of all, it's a chance for all of you to share the ideas that you've been exploring over the semester. So it's a chance for you to tell people in your class what you've been working on and hear what they've been working on. And so it's a way for you to learn more about our course theme, the internet. As such, it's also a chance for you to get feedback on your ideas for the ARP. So as I'll talk about in a moment, you're going to be presenting on one of the most interesting or important ideas in your ARP. And so you'll get responses from people on that idea that you can then use to go back and shape the final version of that assignment. It also, though, serves some other purposes as well. It's a chance for you to practice writing for a different audience. Up until this point, you've been very much focused on writing for an academic audience, an audience of experts, an audience who basically know what you're going to be talking about. By way of contrast, the symposium is intended for a completely different audience. It's intended for the public, people who might be interested in your topic, who might know a little bit about it, but who aren't really experts in it. So it's a way for you to think about how you can reach a different group. And last, and certainly not least, it's a chance for you to practice your digital presentation skills, which are becoming so important in academia and the workplace. So it's going to do a bunch of things for you, and I hope you'll find it interesting and enjoyable. So let's get down to brass tacks and talk about some of the basics of the symposium. So the basic format for the assignment is that you're going to have 15 slides, each of which needs to have an image of some kind on it. It can have more than one image, but probably not much more than one. Like I would say 2 would be about your maximum. Then for each slide, for each image or set of images, you're going to come up with 50 to 65 words of narration. And you can record the narration using a microphone, just as I'm doing now, or you can present that narration as text on the slide. So I think it might be helpful for you guys to see an example of what this thing looks like. So here is a slide I've put together that kind of resembles a presentation slide. You'll be doing it within Prezi rather than PowerPoint, but the basic format will be more or less the same. So as you can see, I've started by finding an interesting and striking picture. We'll talk about selecting good pictures in a week or two. With that picture, I have exactly 59 words of narration. Now, on your actual slide, you don't need to give me a word count. I've just given it to you here to show it's between the 50 to 65 word limit. Let me read the narration to you because it might be helpful for you to see just how brief it actually is. So, Google's Deep Dream tool has mesmerized people on the internet with its images that seem to come from a dreamscape or perhaps an acid trip. Its images contain swirling patterns of light and color and surreal floating objects like dogs and cars and eyes. They suggest that the computer is hallucinating and that we have access to its strange visions. So as you can hopefully see from that, your narration for each slide isn't going to be very long. And so you have to make very careful decisions about what points you want to get across. So you might be asking now, okay, how does this relate to the ARP? Where am I going to get my idea for the symposium from? First, I think it's really important to know that your symposium shouldn't be a direct presentation of your ARP. Absolutely the worst thing you can do is take your ARP, break it down across 15 slides, and just have that as your symposium. It's just not going to work at all. Your ARP is going to be far too long, and it's intended for a completely different audience. Instead, your symposium should take an interesting, remarkable, or important idea from your ARP and expand on it. So you really want to look for a highlight or a hotspot in your ARP and think of building your symposium around that. I would say you really want to find one big idea from your ARP that you're trying to get across. You can go into more depth about it, you can look at it from different angles, but probably covering one idea, given the limitations you have, is going to be the best approach. Equally importantly, you want your symposium to be a lot more informal and entertaining than the ARP. You're intending it for a public audience, and you really want to hold their attention. So it's important both to inform them and to entertain them. And we'll be thinking about some strategies you can do that. Sorry, let me do that sentence again. We'll be thinking about some strategies you can use to do that. For the moment though, if you want an example of the kind of genre this talk is in, you might want to look at TED Talks or at Pechakucha. Those are going to give you examples of the kind of public, informative but still entertaining presentation that you're wanting to produce. Okay, so as you're starting to look at the stuff and think about it, please let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here to help and guide you. So I hope it's a really good week for all of you, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care.